So, welcome to today. I'm Christine.
I'm Liz.
And we are Double D-Fense. We're an all-female New York Rangers podcast, bringing you fun conversation about our New York Rangers, the NHL and hockey, and so much more. Thank you for joining us.
Well, hi, Christine.
Well, hello.
Hi again.
Happy
I've seen a lot of
Tuesday.
you this week.
It's been a long week. It's been a really fun week, but it's been a long, just literally this time a week ago, we were, we were almost down meeting, at the Kings game, and it was 90 degrees. It's like 60 degrees outside. I'm freezing.
I also feel like I've sat in a lot of traffic to watch the Rangers lose terribly. So anyway,
don't even tell me about traffic. I had a 3-hour commute home unnecessarily where I'm like, that was just the slowest drive home ever.
Well, for those of you just joining us, welcome to Double D-Fense. We are your all-female New York Rangers and NHL podcast. Christine and I are both diehard New York Rangers fans. We happen to live in beautiful Los Angeles, California, and did spend the last week driving all over the place to have some really fun meetups, see some friends, organize groups of Ranger fans to attend the Rangers LA Kings game, which was last Tuesday, and then the Rangers Anaheim Ducks game, which was last Friday. Both were kind of must-win games for the Rangers. Both were terrible losses in their own way, but we had a good time. We'll get into a couple of stories that we have from both of those games, which were, at the end of the day, extremely fun. But it seems like there is some very interesting New York Rangers breaking news as we get toward these last couple of weeks for the season, and the games actually do become do or die, not just for the Rangers, but for a lot of teams.
Now they are do or die. Well, real quick, aside from that, we'll kind of get into that. I just wanted to kind of, there is breaking news. Former, New York Ranger Philip Hedl, it looks like he's going to be out for the remainder of the season at a minimum. So that's being reported right now through Molly Walker. So that just came out a few minutes ago as we were coming on to do this. So,
and this was directly related to his last hit, injury, concussion protocol.
That was only 2.5 weeks ago, because there was hope that he was going to travel out and be with the team a week ago, but before they came out and they were playing the Canucks at home for Sam's game, and that wasn't the case. So it's disturbing news, because when you have two major concussions like that, he's such a good player.
Yeah.
You were saying before, it might have been an unfortunate good decision trade if this was destined to have something happen with him. So it's quite unfortunate, because we are seeing other people thrive. We saw one of them thriving, actually a few of them thriving on Friday night. So but it was fun. So let's start by so we had our little Rangers week in LA kind of a thing. It was fun. It was nice to see that we got a lot of people, to kind of meet up with us. We had a couple of friends out from New York, which was really fun. I had a chance to sit down and spend some time with a couple of my friends from New York, which was good, and introduce a couple to our group of friends. And then, at the same time too, I did enjoy, our friends kind of coming out and getting not only more supportive. I think they started being supportive, and now we've got we had to loan a couple of jerseys, but we got a couple friends buying their own stuff.
We did. I think it was a really interesting mix of people. I think that there's a lot of friends of ours who might not necessarily, let alone not be Rangers fans, just not hockey fans in general, who have realized that actually going to a hockey game is really fun. And I think we had a couple of people who made that discovery when we went to go see the Kings. So that was a lot of fun. We did have some Capitals fans with us who were representing the Caps, and good for them. They're on their way to what is probably going to be a great year for them. Who are also nice and supportive. And in general, when you go to, an away Rangers game, there's always going to be Rangers fans, no matter what city you're in. And LA is certainly one of those cities. Although I will say, from being at that game, felt a little weird. I felt like the New York Rangers energy was off. I think you had said, or somebody had said, that they heard some New York Rangers chants. I remember last year, the crowd was really supportive. It was "Let's go Rangers" nonstop.
Yeah.
This year, I felt like it was a little more subdued. And, obviously the Rangers did not have a great performance against the Kings.
Well, yeah, I'm going to kind of tone that down a little bit because, they actually held their own with the Kings for the whole game. I mean, you're talking coming into LA, the Kings had just broken a record for longest win streak, ever in their history at home. They have a record number of home wins, and they're strong at home, and they're very physical. We've kind of been talking about this, and what I wanted to see better was them kind of preparing for the physicality of this West Coast trip, and to me, it just didn't look like they did their homework. Now, that game, and again, we're talking a week ago, so if you're listening, you're watching the game, it might jog your memory. So I don't know about you, like at home, but we were in the arena when that first goal got scored, and we didn't even know it was a goal because there was this weird post hit, and we were right behind the Kings goal. So the goal that happened was on the other side, and it was weird because and unfortunately, you're watching a lot of weird things happen. You're like these extreme delays in coaching challenges and different turnovers and things. And that's kind of and I think you were thinking the same thing,
Yeah.
where they were challenging that one post hit. And then they're like, it's a goal. And we're like, oh, and then, then I look around and you see people standing up and they all had blue on. And I was like, wait, that's us. So it started off wonky and, and that it just made it weird. However, the final score was 3-1. It was an empty net goal. So that third one doesn't count. And so I felt that just, even though, look, to your point, you're like, they're skating slow or they had to keep up because, it would have been different. We held them, to a 1-goal game. And that's the way I look at things. If we're playing someone that's really hot and we lose, I want to lose closely. I don't want to get, blown out like the Sharks did, twice in a row, by the way. And so, that's something I hate seeing, but if they can hold their own against a hot team and just lose by this much, and on top of it, and this is where it gets unfortunate too, both their goals were power play goals. So had we not had calls like that, it would have been a different story. However, it wasn't. So I think we all said it was kind of an odd game, and I'm just gonna kind of tell viewers too. Our friends are great, so we were all sitting there, and we have newer players, sitting at somehow we all ended up in the back row, but I've got one girlfriend on my left, you're on my right, and you've got Shirley, you got Christiane on my right, and you got Shirley on on my left, and Shirley on your right, and Christiane's just doing play-by-play. She's really getting into it. And so, and it's unfortunate because we would have had her on to talk about her experience. And, but she's just going at it and Carrie's kind of listening in pretty intently. And Christiane's doing her play-by-plays and yelling, why are they doing the same thing? They're just coming in and doing the same thing. And I look over at you and I'm like, I'm liking my play-by-plays over here. Christiane's giving some good ones. And then you just look right back at me and you go, well, I'm getting them in song by Shirley. I can't get past that. That's funny.
There's something to this. She would find a song lyric that was appropriate for every single play and then just sing that song lyric. So I wish I could remember some of them because they were really on point. But I did appreciate that.
It was good. I'm getting into it too. I do like watching everybody, getting into it and how they get into it, So it definitely made it fun. Overall, the Kings game was just I think it was a weird game, all in all. To your point, it's funny, like you felt like they were kind of skating slower. And that's interesting because, even though they might have looked that way, they were able to kind of keep up with the Kings, who don't, they don't do anything slow. We had a good fight, and possibly, I think Rempe hurt his hand. Not really, but and then because immediately after that fight, that game, he was put on week to week.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what else he did. So that's still a little bit of a mystery that we're kind of, you know, following to see what happens. So,
So,
and then they had a
so
couple of days off.
yeah, they had a couple of days, and then
Go ahead.
we were off to go see the Rangers play the Anaheim Ducks at the Honda Center in Anaheim. Very different vibe, very different team, and somehow, a loss that I think actually stung a lot more than their loss to the Kings. So they did lose to the Kings 3-1. Score at
Yeah, yeah.
the Anaheim game was
The
5-4
Anaheim game.
Ducks. But that
Yeah.
don't forget the Rangers were up 4-2 with just about 5.5 minutes left in that game.
It-
And I remember looking over
I was right there.
Yep. I remember looking over and going, man, there's too much time left in this game. What are the creative ways that they can find to mess this up? And they 100% did.
They did. And it was crazy. So, because the whole game they were looking good, it was exciting,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then it was sad. It was exciting, and then I was like, nope. And then we're like, we need the extra point, and nope, and that didn't happen. So,
It
jinxed all the
almost
way. It happened.
it almost looks like they, we've always talked about, does the bus show up on time? Does the bus show up late? Does the bus show up early? I felt like at the Ducks game, the bus came and picked them up with 5 minutes left in the game, and they all left. They went, "Oh, we don't have to play defense. We don't need to do anything.
Yeah.
We're up 4-2. We can just ride this comfortably." The Rangers did get a point out of it because it went to overtime, but overtime did not last long, and the Ducks came away with a win at a game that the Rangers really, really needed to be able to secure that second playoff spot, the second wildcard spot, which they are not currently in right now. Thankfully, everybody else has lost. Everybody who was vying for that second playoff spot. There's like a joke going around on Twitter that no team wants it. Like none of the teams want it. So it's between Montreal, the Rangers, the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the Islanders, and everybody sucks. So thankfully, everybody has stuck together at the same time. So by some miracle, the Rangers are only 1 point out of it. And right now, in about a half hour, the Panthers will play the Montreal Canadiens. And if the Panthers can win, and the Canadiens lose,
we'll be tied, but we'll have one more win, and we'll
and then if the Rangers take the game tomorrow against the Wild.
Well, they have, like, now we're talking like there's really not a lot of choice in stuff. Now, I want to just go back just real quick between the two games, and then kind of set a precedent for what I want to see going forward. At the Kings game, it's funny. I almost felt that they were overthinking things and doing too much, like going and skating too fast, and trying to do things. I wish they would have slowed things up a little bit, to kind of get more, just better class shots, and more, just better attempts, for scoring, like some, scoring chances there. And then you're right. Like with the Ducks game, I thought everyone was playing well, and it was funny because, I was anticipating a lot of fights. And I feel, this is my theory, is that Rempe not hurt. They took him out because they took him out of that mix to kind of have just to get that vibe out of there, and because right now, anytime he's on the ice, people want to draw him in, get a penalty, and then have that extra man. And unfortunately, it's starting to kind of doom us on things. So I think they just took him out of the mix. So it made for a better game, and for the most part, it was a good game. But you're right. Right at that 5-minute mark, when they scored, you would want to see him amp it up a little bit. They never really changed anything, and then unfortunately, it came up and caught them, pretty quickly. Now going into the few games that remain, I have a feeling it's just going to come, it's going to come down to potentially maybe the Canadians, your favorite team now, and us as we kind of go back and forth. And I have a feeling it's going to be whoever, just has I think it's still going to be super close. I actually love this. And so, it's exciting. It's nerve wracking. We're checking scores more. We're watching the other games. I'll flip on the other games and yell at something and flip it off and then turn it or whatever. We get so more active, and it's really exciting. They really, even though they feel like it sometimes they don't want it. They all do want it, and we're seeing that because we're seeing some new trades. So they're bringing this kid up now to play tomorrow, and at your own leisure, take a look at the lineups and stuff. But this is where it's going to get interesting because we just did all these trades, and some of these guys, still Borgen is still kind of quickly becoming my favorite with the way he just defends and does stuff, and they're relying heavily on Miller. They're relying a lot on these new guys. And they're putting him in the lineup, and I kind of agree with it because those are the people that are producing stuff.
This NHL season has been predictable as a puck rolling on its edge. No one knows where it's going, but that just means there's time for your favorite team to figure things out and games left for you to get in on the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL.
Hey, it's super easy for first-timers to get started. Try betting on something simple like picking your team to win. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook app, select your team, and place your first bet. And if you're new to DraftKings, listen up. New customers bet $5 to get $150 in bonus bets instantly.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $150 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 and over. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/ice.
So what do you think about so the player that you're referring to is Gabe Perreault, who is coming off his run at Boston College. He was signed to an entry level contract by the Rangers this week. It looks like he'll be playing tomorrow. I'm not sure it's the right plan for them because the Rangers don't have the best track record of developing these young guys. And is it worth burning this right now? Just to get him on the ice in the hopes that this young guy is going to turn something around for them. I don't know.
I think that it's a good mix to throw in the pot there, and because right now they have nothing to lose. They have to win a game, and I think they have to do things that are not predictable. As we've been talking, I know I've been talking about it throughout, and I think Boshi agrees with me. So
you could tell what I was yelling when that was muted. Sorry, my dog had to voice his opinion on putting Perreault.
Yeah, I agree. And so you can look at the lineup, but it looks like I'm gonna need my glasses for this. When they were practicing today, they had Panarin, Trocheck, Offman, Lafreniere, Miller, and Perreault, Kreider, Zibanejad, and Cooley, Berard, Carrick, and Brodzinski. So right there, look, I think that's showing you that they're putting these young kids on every line right now, and the thing is, I've kind of watched like what Jack Hughes does. He's definitely young, he's definitely a kid, and he doesn't follow the rules. He takes that puck and just puck hogs it all the way up the ice and right through the middle and takes the shots. And I think that's one thing that we kind of need to kind of get through these last few games. They're not easy games, and we have no options but to win. So what are you gonna do? We'll know tomorrow how those work, But when the people that are producing are Brzezinski and Cooley and maybe Miller, here and there, and Panarin now has again woken up. We should have done the APB sooner. Now I'm just like, kind of kicking myself for that because it worked. I'm like, I don't want to push it, like anymore. And so now the other bigger thing is your favorite, which was he was a very big topic, after the Ducks game and the Kings game. And it's unfortunate, but that Miller, every time that we're getting scored on, he's right there.
Let's clarify. So we're talking. My favorite is Keandre Miller.
Everybody knows. Oh, and
our four listeners know my thoughts on the nice. Keandre Miller has proven time and time again how bad a hockey player he is. And I've heard the phrase kind of tossed around, and I feel like we could see it in both of those games, just like not super high hockey IQ. Like he's making plays that don't make sense. He's taking himself out of every play by doing that thing where he throws himself on the ground. And I understand, like, okay, if you want to block a shot when you're defending, on a power play, you need to block a shot, do that. But if you just throw yourself on the ice before like a shot's even taken, you've now taken yourself out of the play. So you have one less player, and it's never benefited them. Not one time has that ever worked. Maybe like one time. But
it wasn't him.
I don't know. I think he's cost this team more goals than he's created. And I just don't know how they can keep him around, especially now that him and his agent are asking for more money next year. I would love to see him traded while his value, like he has any kind of value still left.
Yeah, well, we'll see that like when it comes. But the interesting thing is, I guess, and I don't know the answer to this, is if we're seeing that on the ice, why is he always there? He's always, in a lineup. He's, it's going to be Miller Borgen.
Because Laviolette's playing a deeply cruel, long April Fool's Day joke on us by always putting this guy in the lineup. I don't know why. It's the same reason that Kreider, is still playing, that Zibanejad was playing through all of the tough weeks. I think Laviolette relies on the veteran players. I think that's his go-to playbook. Maybe it's good that Perreault will get into the lineup and shake things up a little bit, because you're right. It has been the young guys that have been producing. It's been the young guys who have been scoring more. And maybe this is their way of acknowledging that, and throwing, new guy into the deep end. I just worry that, that you put someone like Perreault on the ice, and all of us, especially against a team like Minnesota, and without Rempe in the lineup, this guy's just going to get smashed. I mean, like, don't you think all the guys in the world are going to be like, welcome to the NHL?
Yeah. I mean, that happened to Berard on his first game. He got dinged. He got dinged hard a couple times. Yeah. He still does, that poor kid. I like that kid, and I want to see him play more.
and these new guys are not big. Like, Perreault is, I think he's like 175. Like, he's not like a super big guy. And you go, like, sure, it's great that he played junior hockey, and it's great that he played for BC, but I imagine, you get into the big leagues and all of a sudden it's going to look a lot different. So hopefully he can survive.
And in my opinion, that will still be fun to watch, so
100%.
I have to say, even though, like, the minute they come, I kind of feel like if I know that I like them or not, and how they're going to go. And that's why I kind of like Berard. And it was funny because when we're at the Kings game, these guys are young. So, like, it's been a while. So it's been a year. Like, and we kind of go down and do the warm ups. So when you see these guys like off it up close, I'm like, oh my God, like they look young. And I mean, they are young, but it's like they're just babies on the ice. And then and someone like a Trouba or like Doughty or whatever, they're just gonna get smashed. But maybe it's a rite of passage. Hockey players are their own breed and they kind of like it. So And I have a lot of sympathy for that. I mean, I would like it if I got smashed by some of these guys, it wouldn't feel too good, but
different kind of way.
I would enjoy it. So I'm not
Truba
gonna
can
lie.
smash me anytime. Truba was looking good, not as like a hockey player. Like I don't mean in that like he was looking like the hockey good, but he was like looking very well, very like healthy, very happy. So that was nice to see. I still have my little fantasy that he's going to be running the OC marathon with me, and he's going to look over, and his hair is going to be flowing back. But because by that time the Ducks are going to be out of it, so maybe he'll take up a new hobby and come running with me.
I'm sure he'll be around. We can go.
I think he's I think he might be my new crush, my new hockey crush. Now that he's not on the team anymore.
Oh, see.
It's always how it goes.
He's got friends, so we can go find him. They're not that far from me, actually. We used to do more road trips, out and about and seeing, where people are.
They go to Disneyland, as we learned.
There was
half the Rangers were Disneyland.
Disneyland, So when I had a friend who was at Disneyland, saw Othman, and then of course, I think pictures of Rempe kind of popped up at Disneyland. So they did have a day off. They did have a couple practices between those games. And, a lot of things I'm seeing are like, here's a good question. It's like, if there's if there's an optional practice and we're at this point, do you think that everybody should be showing up? Or do you think sometimes you need that mental break from stuff to kind of maybe mentally refocus on stuff? Because I saw a lot of comments about people, giving them a hard time for the ones that aren't showing up for optional practices.
Well, I think, if they're called optional, you can't fault a player for taking that as like a mental health day, because there is so much value in rest, and mentally and physically. So if they're optional, I feel like you can't. I don't think it's fair to read too much into that, because these guys are professional athletes. You expect that they're going to know their bodies and their minds. So I personally don't have an issue if they're skipping out on a practice that everybody else is at and they need to be there, or they're not giving that practice their all. That I have way more of a hard time with.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's fine. I'm just seeing it. And it didn't have anything to do with like this last week. It was something I think prior. And of course, we all know that, the couch fans are really miserable when it comes to
absolutely. But again,
there's always someone complaining about something, but it's an interesting thing. I do agree. Like the mind, like they really should take a mental break from, and sometimes you need that too. Just to think about other things, and stuff, so that you can refocus. So,
but like as fans, you go to these games and you're buying beers and they're $25 or whatever. You want to see your team show up. You want them to be working as hard as you work to get there. So I think that's I understand the fan level of frustration. I think these next couple of days are going to be, or weeks, are going to be so fascinating. So just looking ahead at the schedule, we're recording this on the 1st of April. The Rangers take on the Wild tomorrow. On April 5th, they play the Devils. On the 7th, the Lightning, followed by the Flyers, the Islanders, the Hurricanes, the Panthers, and the Lightning again. So the Rangers do end their season. Well, they have an away game and then a home game. So they're playing the Panthers in Florida on April 14th. And then the last game is April 17th against the Lightning. And these are going to be some tough games ahead, especially just looking at the Hurricanes, the Lightning twice, the Devils game. It's Saturday. It's going to be a Saturday morning for us. That'll be an interesting one.
Oh, I think they're all going to be good, actually. And I'm kind of liking seeing, I mean, it'll be fun to watch tomorrow to kind of see what we're in store for. But again, you got to mix things up. And if this is what they're doing, then it's a good thing. Because as I keep saying, we've become way too predictable in our plays and in our shots, and everybody's on to us. And even like, even the style of, of play and Shesterkin, like there's a lot of predictability. So you got to change that up. And now's as good a time as any to do it. And hopefully you can throw some people off their game and then be able to pick it up and get those points, to kind of keep us in the home stretch. So
Yeah.
it looks like Montreal pretty much has a similar schedule too. So
I was just looking at their schedule. So they're playing the Bruins, the Flyers, the Predators, the Red Wings, the Senators, the Maple Leafs, the Blackhawks, and then they end with the Hurricanes. So interesting. A couple of easy ones, couple of less easy ones.
Well, not necessarily easy, but I always find too, once some of these teams are out of it, they don't care. So you know what their goal is? It's just to fuck you up, so and I've watched that too. So that's why this is the best time of the year, is to watch, all these people. That you got teams vying for first place, and we're slowly starting to see teams getting inked in, and we're seeing, there's already, like, I think Blackhawks and the Sharks are out, or is it Seattle? I think Seattle's out. And so now, and this is what's going to be happening every day. You're seeing the clinching scenarios online. So all of this is coming, and this is just what makes it, it's just it's the best time of year.
It is a little bit like Christmas. The West is far further along in determining who's going into the playoffs than the East. 4 teams have been eliminated in the West already. That's Seattle, Nashville, Chicago, and San Jose. 2 teams have already clinched, and that's Winnipeg and Dallas. And in the East, the only thing that's happened is the Washington Capitals have clinched. Everybody else technically still has a chance, including the Buffalo Sabres, who are way down at the bottom.
They're letting them win.
It is a weird season. It's a weird year.
Yeah, and right now it's like, I don't know, because you got Ovi kind of going for this thing too, and I feel that there's a little bit of I haven't watched the games because I don't really like that team, and so, but we'll give credit where credit's due. Ovi's 5 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, so it is looking as though it's doable for him to do. It's going to be close. I'm hoping to see teams fight for it and give him, but at this time, it's like I almost feel like that, everyone's kind of rooting for him at the same time. And so that just gives an interesting perspective of how those games go. That's why I don't want to watch it. So, because I if people don't know me, I have a degree in math and statistics. So I'm very numbers oriented. I do check the stats all the time. And, and I kind of watch ice time and everything. And, and I don't like a lot of these kind of fair weather kind of stats. I think they should be more solidified on some of the things. But it's funny, I was talking to someone, it's like, I was showing someone, like, look, like at this game, like the Ducks game, I'm like, look at it right there. It looks so good. Like, if you looked at this, I asked you, who do you think won? You're like, this team. And I'm like, no, that was not us. So, and that kind of drives me crazy too. And when we're doing well in block shots and we're not turning everything over, and then you're like, oh, we should be winning. And that's those games that we lose, so, it's just it's not the same game.
Yeah.
So look, we only have a couple weeks left. I did post today on our story that believe it or not, the Stanley Cup playoffs begin this month. So it's that, we just have a couple more weeks, and then, all the cards fall where they may. And just it's always a reminder that half these teams don't make it. And then one by one until there's one left. And that's the beauty of the cup. So, it's a fun ride nonetheless. It'll be more fun if this team makes it in. So, I'm doing pendulums. I got fingers crossed. We have all these good intentions. Manifest everything that we can. None of it hurts, is just to kind of keep it going. And someone else had posted on our thing when we kind of posted a story, and they're like, I'm sorry they couldn't win for you. Kind of what you were going to say. And you spend all this money, you want them to do better. It's not about me. It's like they have to want to win, So it's like and that was my comment back. I'm like, I wish I would have won it for themselves. I'm like, they know where they have to be. They know what they want. There's not one single person out there that's, that wants to just go home and not do anything, So yeah, it looks like, we feel that they're not trying because of, maybe we have to get in there more, like, do it for us, like if everyone tell them signs, maybe that's our sign that we need, as we keep crafting ideas. So, something, I mean, to kind of motivate them. And that's kind of a question we've been asking this whole year. So, you've kind of seen things ticking in each of their minds, and it hasn't been a, a clear road this season. I think, with the way and things weren't handled properly. So did it kind of mess things up and set off, and get them off their momentum? Absolutely. Can they get it back on? I don't know if they can, but if you're going to put one of these young new kids on these lines, each and every line, and if this is the lineup that stays, this will be a curious thing, because you basically have what you kind of said. You got, a vet with a rookie, or not, a new kid, or a ranger, on these lines to, I think just mix up things. I think that's what they need right now, is to kind of get a little unpredictability and get those shots off. We didn't see a whole lot of shots at the Kings game, and so, but they kind of redeemed themselves with San Jose, which was fun. And I don't even think you were able to watch that game.
No.
I was like,
I heard it was a good one.
Thank God. And Quick was amazing. So that was another thing. I kind of thought Quick was going to be starting for the Ducks, but he didn't. So I was a little surprised at that one.
Well, before we wrap up, I do want to talk about our amazing moment with Sam Rosen that happened at the Anaheim Ducks game.
The highlight.
Yeah, it was definitely not just a highlight of the game, but certainly a highlight of this podcast, and I think both of us, very personally, getting to connect with Sam. Christine's friend, Sarah, who is absolutely lovely, had a brilliant idea, and that was to try to get Sam Rosen's attention while he was in his press box at the Anaheim Ducks, because where the press boxes are at the Honda Center are directly above the top row of stands in section 434. So she had the idea to go up there and get start yelling and see if we could get his attention, and it totally worked.
It was an amazing moment, because so we're there, and we're just trying to connect with people. Actually, Sarah, we met at a game, two of us together. So she's definitely a friend and family of our podcast, which has been great. And here I am texting her saying, well, we should come say hi. And she's like, I'm going to go up and see Sam. And I'm like, we need to do this. So we grabbed Christiane, and thankfully, Christiane's amazing, because she helps to capture some moments for us when we don't know what we're doing, which is me most of the time. And so, do you realize how funny it was where we were up there, and I'm like, you're like, I don't know if this is the floor. And I just ran into one of the tunnels. I'm like, wait, let me see where we're at. And I ran into the tunnel, and I turn around, and Sarah's right there, and so, which is really funny, because that was like the whole night. I went down one aisle, and there was everybody. So, and she was right there, and she had a cute sign and everything. And, and it's funny, she was like, I'm too nervous to go up there. And I'm like, I don't know anybody here. Let's do it. And then it was really high. So I was really dizzy. So I'm literally holding on to the pole. And it was just it was the sweetest thing. When I was sending you the photos the next morning of the video, and I posted my video, I was like in tears, because I think I watched it 200 times, and I will post it on our site for everybody, to kind of watch. But we went up there, and we started yelling, Sam. And then the crowd were like, can you help us yell Sam? And then everybody around, who were all Ducks fans.
All Ducks fans. Yeah. They were totally helping us.
They were like, Sam. And we were like, and all of a sudden he pops his head like a puppy, just boop, right outside. And I just lost my mind after that. I don't even know what it was. It was so silly.
He spent a couple of minutes, it was obviously loud, and we were not close enough to have like a full conversation, but he heard us.
He had a message.
He was so humble and grateful. And that will always stick with me. He was really, I think he felt like it was very special and it was meaningful to him. It was obviously meaningful to us.
Well, and you heard his message, right? His message was clearly, I'm trying to get them to score so I can say it's a power play goal. And that was hilarious because you had said that earlier. You're like,
Yes.
I want them to score a goal so he can say it's a power play goal, even though we wouldn't have heard it because we were there. And so that's what he was doing. He was leaning over. He's like, I'm trying to say, so it's a power play goal. And then we were like, yeah, we're trying to tell them to do that too. So
yeah, exactly.
And a lot of like air hugs and kisses and stuff and smiles. And, and we definitely appreciate the crowd. And actually, if you watch the video, the short video, the crowd is just, they're genuinely happy for us. There was even a guy in the booth next to him that just has a genuine smile. It was the cutest moment. And it really is teamwork because we wouldn't have known to do that had Sarah not said anything. And I don't think she would have gone up and done it had we not shown up. So it was definitely a dream, not just for like Liz and myself, but for Sarah too. And I don't know if Sarah's met him before. I know you haven't met him. I've met him a couple times. And yeah, he is the most humble guy and the friendliest guy. And he says it, he's like, if it's not for the people I meet in the street and take pictures with, and run into and talk to, then, it's not, it's not been as fun. Like that's what he loves to do. And he always makes the time for you, when everybody else is rushed and stuff. So, he's definitely a sweet man. He definitely will be missed. And, and for what people think was a short ceremony for him a couple weeks ago at the Garden, he's getting the royal treatment in every single arena, all around. The tributes were really sweet and nice. He's getting wonderful gifts. I don't think that one arena needed to do too much for him because he's getting things from everywhere. And so, he's definitely going to have a nice collection of congratulations and retirement gifts, from everywhere. And that's beautiful to see as well. So, so definitely congratulations. I will be posting it as a story for the couple photos and in the crazy little video. Cause I started recording when I wasn't even thinking, I was just enjoying my moment and blowing kisses and to say, I don't even know what I was doing. It was just super fun.
I'm glad you caught it on camera. So we'll post that on our Instagram. And on that note, everybody, we hope that the rest of the season goes smoothly. We'll be back to you guys next week, I'm sure, with wherever we're at, whether we're, as Christine says, we're above the line or below the line, or above the line or below the line.
Oh, it's a fun game.
Back and forth.
It'll be a drinking game by next week, and that's fine too. So if you are drinking and playing a game, be responsible, have fun, enjoy, and the best thing I can say is stay positive about everything. Just enjoy the ride, and there's always another game coming. So let's have fun. We only have a couple more weeks left to kind of enjoy, cry, vent, or do whatever we need to do. Get it all done and release it all and have a great week. And go Rangers. All fingers are crossed for this week. Everybody needs to lose. Montreal can lose now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.